Hello and welcome. This is Rahim Zulfikar Ali from Excel Basement Private Limited. In this video tutorial, we will learn that how to do unstacking of data into columns. So we have a stack column data and we want to unstack this. So each record has certain fields and we want to break them into with their respected columns. So we will learn three different techniques with the help of Excel built-in features. Then we will look this similar technique with the help of dynamic array formulas and also with the Power Query. And in the Power Query, we will also see that if there are uneven records for uneven fields for each of the record, then how to deal with that as well. Okay. So let's get started. First, I will show you how to do the unstacking with this data into columns. So let's get started with a very simple trick. And let me mention that this trick was presented in one of the recent videos by Chandu. So I love that technique and let me demonstrate that. And afterwards, we will go with the dynamic array. So as we know that we have some certain records in our this data table, and let's see what those fields are in each of the record. So first we have the date, then we have the code, product name, customer name, and then the amount. So each of the record contains 5 different attributes or fields, you can say, and these are equivalents. So every record has 5 different fields in each of the record, and we want to split them, we want to unstack them into columns. Okay, so what could be the most easiest way with respect to the using Excel built-in features and a very simple logic? So let's start. So I will write equal sign in the for the first record to get in the date column, and I will refer to that particular date cell. Okay, and this will return exactly the same date into my this cell. So I have just used this structured reference, okay, because my this particular data is in table format. Otherwise, if you don't make the table format on this particular cell, you will get B3 because B3 contains a date here. Okay, now similar kind of way I will go to the next row, and in the code column I will call that particular code from the record 1, then for the product name, and then the customer. So I'm just using an equal sign, and I'm just calling that particular field which is available in a cell from the record 1. And now you can see that we have just made it through. We have successfully got all the fields, numbers or text from the record 1, and you can see this is going in a diagonal way. Now you know that this is coming from a formula, a very simple logic. Okay, now what I will do is I will copy these 5 rows and I will press Ctrl C to copy the formula, and I will select the other ranges where these data is going, and I will press Ctrl V. So I've just copied and pasted a formula or the logic which I have applied, right? Now the next thing is that after doing this, I will select the entire range and I will press Ctrl C, and then I will paste this as a value. So I will go to the paste special and I will say that paste as values, right? Now after pasting as values, you know that all those logics has been removed, right? And these all the data has been pasted as values. Now what I need to do is I need to remove these blank cells. Okay, so first I need to select this blank cells in this range. So I have just selected the range, right? And then I will go to the home tab, and then I will click on find and select, and I will go to the special option, or you can press Ctrl G as a shortcut key. So I will go to special, and from here I will click on blanks. So you can see that all the blank cells have been selected, and now I will press Ctrl hyphen sign from the keyboard. That will show me a delete dialog window, and from here I will select shift cells up and I will press the OK key. That's it. Super. We have just unstacked the data into various columns, right, without any complex formula or function of Excel, and just with the available features of Excel, right? So this is one of the awesome technique, but we need to also discuss that which kind of technique, either it's a dynamic array or a power query, or this kind of technique will be useful in a longer run if we have a large data set. So we need to understand that as an Excel user, what should be your priority. So if you have a simplified data and you have some patterns in that, so you can go with some tips and tricks. Whereas if you have some very business complex data available in which you need to do a lot of transformation, so you decide that either you go with dynamic arrays to handle that or power query at the end, right? Alright, so I hope you love this technique as well. I really love this technique, and I hope that most of the times we got this kind of a data where we need to unstack that, and it's very simple and easy, and it does not take a lot of time. But there is one limitation we need to understand, that for example in the data source, if we get any kind of a change later on, for example if I change the name from Ahmed to Rahim, and if I change the amount, so definitely this data will not get update, because I need because as you know that we have just pasted as values and then we remove the blank cells to make them shift upwards, right? So we need to apply the technique one more time in order to update our data, right? So this is one of the limitations. So you need to take care, if the data source will not change, you are sure about that, so you can go with this tips and tricks. Now if you see that the data will get changed, or even when the data gets append, when you get some new more records later on, so you need to apply that as well. So this kind of a technique comes handy when you know that this is the complete data, we will not get more data and there will be no change. So you can apply this technique, this first technique, okay? But in case, for example, if you have data to be append later on and you want to be updates the numbers in real time as well, so let's come to the next solution that is related to the dynamic arrays. Now this is another solution which I would like to quote here, that in the recent meetup by Faraz Sheikh, Excel is exciting. Oz was the guest speaker, was the main basically speaker there, and he showed us about that how to do unstacking of data into columns with the help of dynamic arrays. So I would like to mention that technique of him in this video, and then I will go to the power query for some awesome workings around, right? So let's start with the dynamic arrays. So I will start with equals to sequence. So the first function argument is about the rows. So I will add another function count a, and then I will select the entire range of my data, and then I will close the bracket, divide by 5. Now why I am dividing it by 5? Because I know that each of my record has 5 fields, so they are equivalent. So each of the record has 5 fields, so I will divide it by 5. Now the question comes in your mind that if each of the record does not have the same number of fields, so that's why I have also mentioned one of the good power query solution in this video as well. But for example, again we can come around with some limitations, that you have some number of records and each of the records have equivalent fields available in the data set, so you can go with this technique. Okay, so dividing it by 5, and then how many columns we want to split this data is definitely 5, because we have date, code, product name, customer, and amount. And I will close the bracket. So as soon as I close the bracket, it generates a number 1 2 3 4 5, and then in next row 6 7 8 9 10 till the 25. So we have 5 records, so total of 25 fields in that. Okay, so next, now these will work as our helper columns, whereas let me apply one more function, and that is index. So the index, the first function argument is the array, that is the range from where we need to get the output. So that's definitely this column, data column, and then I will go for the first cell where the number starts from 1, which is E3, and I will add the hashtag. So basically hashtag will select the entire range which is generated by the sequence function. Okay, and I will close the bracket here, and that's it. Super cool. You got the data unstacked, right? And remember that till yet dynamic arrays does not returns the headers, as well as they do not hold the formatting. So we can do the formatting by just right click and go to format cells, and we can define the formatting we would like to have for this particular column, right? So we can define that as well. Now for example, if a question comes in your mind that we need these helper columns every time in order to get this kind of a solution with the dynamic arrays, so the answer is no. It was just for your understanding. But for example, if I copy this logic here, so I am copying the sequence and count a function, and in the index raw number function argument, instead of E3 hashtag, I will just copy and paste that function, which is the sequence and count a, and I will press enter key, and I will press Ctrl X to cut and paste it here, right? Now the benefit of this dynamic array is basically when you have a changes in your data set. For example, instead of Ahmad, if I write my name Rahim, so you can see that it's being changing because these numbers, these unstacked data is coming by a formula, right? So in real time it will change. Let me change the amount as well, so it's changing here. And later on, if you get any other entry, for example, if I just copy and paste another data appended, so you can see here you got one more entry here, right? But as I told you that dynamic arrays does not hold the formatting, so you need to consider that you need to do formatting whenever a new record is being added to the data set. Okay, so this is how we handled the unstacking with the help of index, sequence, and count a. So basically sequence is one of the dynamic array formulas, right? All right, so far so good. We have learned how to unstack this this stack data into unstack with the help of some tips and tricks available in the Excel. And then we went for dynamic array solution. Now it's come to the Power Query, and in the Power Query I have made two queries here. For example, now again in the Power Query we will see each of the record contains same number of fields, but in the second situation every record does not contain same number of fields. Some have 3, some have 5, some have 7. So in that particular scenario, what we need to do in Power Query, right? So let's first solve this situation first of Power Query, which is having each of the record having equivalent of fields. Okay, all right, so my this data is in the table form, okay, converted into a table form, and then I will go to the data, and then in the get and transform group I will click on from table or range. All right, so my this data will goes into the Power Query editor where we can do all kind of transformations, right? So now we got the data, right? And what we are required to do here is we will go to the add column and we will insert an index column. Okay, so you can insert an index column from 0 or from 1. So if you insert it from 0, it will start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 till the last number, which is 24. Or you can insert the index column number from 1 to onwards. Okay, so after inserting an index column, we will add another column, which is modulo column. Okay, now why we are adding modulo column? Because we know that each of the record contains 5 fields, and that are equivalent with every record. Okay, so in the modulo we need to define that number, and in the value field I will write 5 here. So the logic of 5 is basically because in each of the record we have 5 fields. Okay, and I will press OK. So now you can see that the modulo created a number from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, which are the 5, and for the next entry it's again creating 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Okay, so I will select this modulo column. I will click on this modulo column and then I will go to transform and then I will click on pivot column. So a pivot column dialog window will appear here. So we need to basically unstack the data column, which is the first column, and click on advanced options and select don't aggregate, because we don't want aggregation but we want to make them split into multiple columns. Okay, so make sure you do not forget to also apply the advanced options and select the don't aggregate, right? And now press OK. So once you press OK, that particular data column has been split into 5, right? And what you can do is you just need to do some transformations. So from column number 1 till 4, select these columns and go to the transform tab and apply fill upwards. Okay, and then from the column 0, open this drop down menu and uncheck the null values, and then remove this index column. And now you can rename those title as well, those headers as well. So double click on that and give a nice name so that later on you can understand that. So the second column is code, the third one is the product, the fourth one is the customers, and the fifth one is the amount, right? Now after doing all these transformations and we have successfully done the unstacking, so I will go to the home tab, close and load to, and I will say that existing sheet, add this output in our existing sheet, or you can go with a new sheet as well, and I will press OK. So now in just few seconds you will get that unstacked data. Wow, super cool, right? And let's say for instance later on if your data gets revised, for example if I write my name, if I change the amount, and if I add some more entries in this data, so after you know that you have some additions of records and you have edited some of the records and you want to update this particular table which is came from the Power Query transformation, so what you need to do is go to the data tab and click on refresh. So that's it. See, your new changes has been added, right? So this is super cool technique where you don't have limitations such like in the previous techniques we saw, but as I told you that it depends situation by situation. Okay, so every technique is useful, but I am just exposing that how many different ways are available now for the Excel users to make their life easier in terms of data transformation. Alright, so let's come to the last scenario in which we have some records, but now each of the record does not have the equivalent fields. So if you can see that, and also we have now two columns. So the first column is of salesperson and the second one of products. Whereas this example is just as imaginary example, you can go with your real-time data sets where you have a column like teams and their respective members, or you can go ahead with the sales numbers with respect to the products by the time classification. So it's depend on the data set, but this technique will come in handy. So we have two columns, salesperson and products, and if you can see with the first salesperson, that is Ali, we have 3 products A, B, C. Then we have Kashif where he has got 5 products A, B, C, D and E. Then we have Salim who has got more products than Ali and Kashif, right? And then last one we have Munir who only got 2 products. So there are multiple records, there are many records, but they are not equivalent. So now in this scenario we need this kind of unstacking, but how to do in Power Query? Let's get started and learn it. So this data is already converted into table format, and I will go to the data tab and I will click on this from table or range. So now my data will be previewed in the Power Query editor where we'll be doing all the data transformation steps, right? Okay, so now first let me insert an index column and let me give you what we are doing and how we will be solving this particular situation. So for example, if I insert an index column which let's say which starts from 1, so you know that when you insert an index column, it's generate a serial number 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 and till the last row or the record, you can say. So it's generating numbers from 1 till 18. Whereas we know that we need a column such like that it generates a serial number, but with every new record it restarts its numbering from 1 again. Okay, so what I want is I want a column which generates a serial number, but whenever a new record starts, it's restart with 1. So here you can see in this particular index column we got 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 and so on. But as from here, from the salesperson column point of view, we want a number 1 here instead of 4. So 1 2 3 4 5. So when the third record, which is for the Salim, here instead of 9 we want 1 again. So I hope I am clear with this point, that I need a column where every new record is starting, so the serial number should also start. So on that particular logic, we will make this data into an unstack. Okay, so now this will not fulfill our purpose, right? And what we are required to do is we need to write M language code, M coding. Okay, now you don't have to type that even. What I will do is I will give you one good technique to do it. Even if you don't know M language, you can just do it as well. So after inserting an index column, you can see on the formula bar this query, this formula bar is showing you a code of M language, M code. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to just select this entire line and right click and copy this. Okay, or you can press Ctrl C, right? So when you copy this entire coding, okay, what you need to do is you need to remove this index column. Okay, so now the step would be you will go to the transform tab and click on group by and make sure that you are grouping the first column, which is the salesperson, and make sure that in the operation drop down menu you will select all rows. Okay, and press OK. So now you will get two columns, salesperson, which is being now grouped, and the count column. And when you click on any of the cell in which the table is being written, you will see a small preview here in the bottom. So when I click on Ali, I can see only 3 records. So when I click on Kashif, I can see let's say 5 records. Like when I click on Munir, so I can see that particular number of records, number of transactions. Okay, so now what I need to do is I have already copied that index column code, and I will go to add column. Then I will click on custom column, and here I will paste that code. Okay, and I need to do one small change. So you can see here hashtag quotes change type code, so you need to remove that and just double click on the count. That's it, and press OK. Now you just need this custom column. We don't need now salesperson and count column because all our data is now available here. So now you can see the preview. We have got the index column, and every time when I click on any of the salesperson record, it's just giving me a new numbering. Okay, so what I will do is right click, remove other columns, and now I will open this drop down, and then I will say okay, I need salesperson, products, and index column, right? So now before that, you see in the video when I just inserted an index column for the very first time, you see that index column was generating numbers like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 till the last row. But here now I got that column, so every new record which is starting here, it is generating a serial number from 1. So you can see here this new record, and now it's generating 1 here and goes till 8. So whenever it got the new record, it's restart their numbering, right? And now I will select this index column, and then I will go to transform tab, and then I will click on pivot column, and then I will go to pivot column, and which kind of a data I want to unstack, which is basically a products. Okay, so I will select the products, then in the advanced option don't aggregate, and then I will press OK. That's it. And now we can just rename all those headers, just like product A, product B, product C, and so on, right? So I'm just renaming all those headers. Now our data has been unstacked, and I will go to the close and load, and I will click on close and load 2, and let's say we want the data here, and now you can see that you got the unstacked data into columns where we have uneven record fields. Okay, so for example, later on if you have some additions or deletions or any other thing you want to do with the data, for example, instead of Kashif, let me write Ali here and product D. So we have eliminated one product of Kashif and added one new for the Ali, right? And same if I just copy and paste two more entries for Munir. So after doing some additions in the data and editing, I will go to the data tab and I will click on refresh. So now you can see that the records has been updated successfully, right? So this was for unstacking the data when you have uneven record of fields in Power Query. So I hope you like and love all these techniques for unstacking the data through tips and tricks, through dynamic arrays, through Power Query, which we have discussed two different kind of situations, right? So thank you so much.